All right, welcome to our deep dive into foraging safely.
I know, right? It's a fascinating topic.
And potentially pretty important, right? I mean, it could be life-saving
Definitely life-saving.
to know what you're doing out there.
Absolutely.
So you're interested in foraging. So we've been doing a ton of research.
Yeah.
We've looked at survival guides, actual foraging blogs, and of course, some of the top field guides that are recommended.
Yeah, it's amazing how many resources are out there.
It is, and I've got to say, going through all this research, I found some pretty wild stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Like, did you know that just one single rosary pea can be deadly?
Oh, wow.
But some people still eat them
Oh, really?
after boiling them.
That's pretty risky.
I know, it seems crazy, right?
It really highlights the importance of being cautious and really respecting how complex nature can be.
Absolutely. You can't just assume that something's safe because you've heard it somewhere.
No, definitely not.
So getting into it, all of the sources agree on some golden rules when it comes to foraging. And the most important thing is proper identification.
Of course.
Like, we're talking about consulting multiple sources.
Absolutely.
Not just one quick Google search before you even think about taking a nibble of anything.
Right. And even then, when in doubt, throw it out.
Yeah.
But beyond that, make sure you're foraging ethically and sustainably.
Yeah.
Think about taking only what you need and making sure that you leave enough for those plants to regenerate.
Right. And of course, you want to minimize your impact on the environment.
Absolutely.
And don't forget about getting permission from landowners if you're foraging on private property.
Very important.
All right, so now let's get to the part you've been waiting for, dangerous lookalikes. We'll start with the wild carrot family because there's a seriously bad imposter lurking in there.
Okay.
Poison hemlock.
Oh, yeah, that one's nasty.
Can you imagine thinking you're picking some wild carrots for a nice salad and you end up with poison hemlock?
You wouldn't want to do that.
No, not at all.
The sources describe poison hemlock pretty vividly. I mean, one even compares the smell to mouse urine.
Oh my gosh.
Not something you want near your dinner, that's for sure.
Mm.
It has these tall, smooth stems, often with purple blotches,
Okay.
which can be pretty distinctive. But to make it even trickier, wild carrot,
Yeah.
which is also known as Queen Anne's lace, looks pretty similar.
So how do we tell them apart then? Is it that mouse urine smell?
Well, I wouldn't recommend relying on that alone.
Yeah, sure.
Poison hemlock has smooth stems with no hairs.
Okay.
And wild carrot, it actually has these tiny leaf-like structures called bracts
Yeah.
right under the flower clusters.
Bracts. What are bracts?
Oh, right. Bracts are just those tiny modified leaves you find just below the flower.
Ah.
They can be different shapes and sizes, but they're a key for identifying a lot of plants.
So if I'm out there and I see those bracts, I can be pretty confident that it's safe wild carrot and not the deadly hemlock.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know. So moving on then, let's talk about another group of plants that can be tricky berries.
Oh, yeah. There are some tricky ones out there.
Virginia creeper. You know how it grows near grapes sometimes.
Right.
Well, it has those 5 leaves.
Yeah, 5 leaves, yeah.
And it can be mistaken for grapes. So what happens if you accidentally munch on some Virginia creeper berries?
Well, you're not going to have a good time, let me put it that way.
Okay.
You could have some pretty bad reactions.
Like what?
Vomiting, even throat closure.
Oh my God.
Definitely not worth it.
I'll be staying away from those. All right.
Good plan.
So are there any other berry imposters out there that we need to be careful with?
There's another one, buckthorn.
Buckthorn.
Some people actually use it as a natural laxative.
Really?
Yeah, but the berries can be mistaken for wild cherries.
Okay, so there's buckthorn, that's a laxative, and a wild cherry that's hopefully delicious.
Hopefully delicious.
And to make it even more confusing, there's also a safe-to-eat sea buckthorn, right? With yellow-orange berries.
You got it. That's why those multiple sources are so crucial.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to the specifics, not just the general look of the plant.
All right, so we've covered some dangerous lookalikes in the carrot and berry families. What else is out there that we need to be on the lookout for?
Well, there are a few sneaky plants that try to trick us by looking like onions or garlic.
Oh,
Yeah, false garlic, for example.
Hmm.
It has that classic bulbous look, but it doesn't have the strong smell of real garlic.
Okay.
It's not usually deadly,
Mm-hmm.
but you can get some pretty nasty symptoms from it.
Like what?
Nausea, dizziness,
Oh, God.
things like that.
So if it looks like garlic, but it doesn't have that strong garlic smell, it's a no-go.
Exactly. And even those beautiful daffodils can be mistaken for onions before they bloom.
Really?
Yeah. And death camas, another imposter, that one's highly toxic.
So the sniff test is really important here.
Absolutely. If it doesn't have that unmistakable aroma of onion or garlic, don't even think about eating it.
I never would have thought those pretty daffodils could be so dangerous.
You got to be careful.
But you know what really surprised me when I was researching for this deep dive?
What's that?
The danger isn't just in what we eat, it's also in what we touch.
Oh, right. You're talking about the toxic-to-touch plants.
Exactly, like giant hogweed.
Oh, yeah. Giant hogweed's a nasty one. It's like something out of a horror movie. Massive. Up to 14 feet tall.
14 feet, that's huge.
It's intimidating with those white flower clusters and jagged leaves.
Okay, so why is it so dangerous to touch?
The sap, it contains chemicals called phenocoumarins,
Okay.
and those can cause severe burns and sun sensitivity if you get them on your skin.
So we're not talking about just a little redness or itching.
No, these burns can be 2nd or 3rd degree,
Wow.
and they can last for months.
So even just brushing up against it could be really bad.
Even worse, like chopping it down can result in burns because the sap can splatter.
Oh my God.
So you really need to be able to identify it and keep a safe distance.
All right, giant hogweed officially scares me.
It's definitely one to avoid.
So are there any other toxic to touch plants that we should be aware of?
There are a few others.
Mhm.
Wild parsnip is similar to giant hogweed, but smaller.
Okay.
And common hogweed also contains phenocoumarins, but usually in lower amounts.
Hmm.
And then there's arum willy,
Yeah.
which has these tiny crystals in the sap that can cause irritation.
Oh, yeah.
And spurge, which has a milky sap that can be really dangerous if it gets in your eyes.
So there are a lot of plants out there that we should just admire from afar.
Absolutely, but don't worry, the sources also recommend some great resources for staying safe while foraging.
Okay, good, because at this point, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all the potential dangers.
I understand, but remember, knowledge is power. And there are amazing resources to help you learn to forage safely and confidently.
So where do we even begin? What are some of the resources the sources recommend?
Well, the most valuable resource is expert guidance.
Okay.
Seek out those foraging classes, workshops, and guided walks in your area.
Like having a mentor in the world of plants?
Exactly. And of course, field guides are essential.
Yeah.
The sources highly recommend Peterson Field Guide to Medicinal Plants and Herbs and The Edible Wild Plants, a North American field guide.
Those sound great.
Yeah, comprehensive resources, lots of species, detailed information on identification, habitat, and they even have warnings about potential lookalikes.
So like a botanical encyclopedia?
Pretty much.
But what about plants specific to my region?
That's where local guides come in.
Ah. Oh.
Books like Trees and Shrubs of New England or Wildflowers of New England can help you identify the plants in your specific area.
All right, so expert guidance, field guides, local guides, what else?
Don't underestimate the power of community. Local foraging groups can connect you with seasoned foragers who can share their wisdom.
That's a good idea.
It's a fantastic way to learn from others, ask questions, and even participate in group foraging excursions.
Like having a team of foraging buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we live in a digital age, so remember those online resources.
Yeah, of course.
Reputable online communities like the Wild Food UK Forum offer a ton of knowledge and support.
So I can connect with foragers all over the world.
Yeah, you can share findings, ask questions, even find recipes.
It's amazing how much information is out there.
It really is.
But after learning about all those dangerous lookalikes, I have to admit, I'm a little hesitant to actually go out and forage on my own.
That's understandable. But remember, knowledge is power.
True.
The more we learn about plants, the more confident we become.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better way to learn than through experience.
So start slow, take my time, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
That's good advice. It's all about finding that balance between caution and curiosity.
Absolutely. Foraging is an adventure, but it's one that should be approached with respect, responsibility, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Well said. So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored the golden rules of foraging, learned about some dangerous lookalikes.
It's important to be aware of those.
Yeah.
And discovered some really valuable resources for safe foraging.
And in the next part, we'll delve deeper into the world of edible delights.
That's right.
Uncovering some of the surprising and delicious treasures that await us in the wild.
I can't wait.
We'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive into foraging safety.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into foraging safety. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'm already feeling a lot more confident about
Right, so
identifying all those dangerous plants that are out there.
That's great.
But there's another side to foraging that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is the ethical side.
Absolutely. That's so important.
It's easy to get caught up
Right.
in the excitement of finding all these wild edibles.
Exactly.
But we need to remember that we're interacting with a complex ecosystem here.
We are.
We're not just, walking through the aisles of a supermarket.
It's not a free-for-all out there.
It's not. So what are some of the key ethical considerations that we should keep in mind when we're out foraging?
Well, the sources really emphasize the importance of sustainable harvesting.
Okay.
It's not just about taking what we need.
Right.
It's also about making sure that there's enough left for the plants to regenerate and for all the wildlife out there that depend on those plants.
It's like we're guests at a dinner party, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to, gobble up all the food
No, you don't want to clean them out.
and leave nothing for the other guests.
Yeah, you want to be mindful.
Yeah.
Think about that long-term health of the ecosystem and make sure that what we're doing
Right.
is actually contributing
Yeah.
and not harming the environment.
Okay. So sustainable harvesting is key.
It is.
What else should we be thinking about ethically?
Well, remember that foraging isn't just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
We need to respect property rights.
Absolutely.
Make sure we have permission to forage on private land.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only about being ethical,
Yeah.
but it's also about staying on the right side of the law.
We don't want to end up in trouble with
Yeah.
some angry landowner.
Exactly. A
Also-
little courtesy and respect goes a long way.
Absolutely.
I know we've been talking a lot about the potential dangers and
Yeah.
ethical considerations,
Right.
but I don't want you to get discouraged.
No.
Foraging can be such a rewarding and
yeah.
enjoyable experience.
It can.
It really is.
I'm definitely still excited about it.
Yeah.
But all this information
Yeah.
about dangerous plants
It's a lot to learn.
and ethical guidelines, it is a lot to take in.
Yeah. But remember, knowledge is power.
It's true.
And the good news is there are tons of amazing resources
Okay, that's good.
to help you learn how to forage safely
Yeah.
and responsibly.
So where do we even begin with all these resources? I mean, there are books and websites,
There are.
apps, social media groups.
It can feel overwhelming,
It's a bit of a jungle out there.
but it's not as overwhelming as it seems.
Okay.
One of the best resources, in my opinion,
Yeah.
is connecting with experienced foragers.
So like finding a real life foraging mentor.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that idea. But how do I even go about finding someone like that?
Well, start by checking out local foraging groups or clubs.
Ah, okay.
Many communities have organized groups that get together for walks, workshops,
Right.
even potlucks where everyone shares their foraged finds.
That sounds fun.
It is.
Not only would I be able to learn
Mm.
from these experienced foragers,
Yeah.
but I could also connect with other people who share this passion
Yeah.
for wild edibles.
Exactly.
So, and don't forget about the internet.
Oh, yeah. The internet's a great resource.
There are so many fantastic online resources. So
Yeah.
like give me some examples.
Okay, so there are reputable online communities like the Wild Food UK Forum,
Okay.
where you can connect with foragers from all over the world,
Wow.
share experiences, ask questions,
Okay.
and even find recipes.
That's amazing. It's like having this global network of foraging buddies
It is.
right at my fingertips.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are all those great field guides
Yes.
that we've talked about.
The Peterson Field Guide to Medicinal Plants and Herbs and the Edible Wild Plants, a North American field guide.
Those are considered to be essential
Absolutely.
for any serious forager.
Right.
And then don't forget about those regional guides.
Yeah, the regional guides.
Like if I'm foraging in New England, I'll want to pick up trees and shrubs of New England.
Right, exactly.
Or wildflowers of New England.
Exactly. Get those local insights.
Okay, so we've got local foraging groups,
Yeah.
online communities,
Yeah.
and field guides.
What else?
What else is out there?
Social media.
Oh, of course.
You can find tons of groups and pages
Yeah.
dedicated to foraging.
Right.
Where you can see photos, get tips,
Okay.
even find out what's in season in your area. It's a great way to stay connected and learn from other foragers.
It's like a real-time feed of what's going on
Look at that.
in the world of wild edibles.
Exactly.
And don't forget about apps. The apps.
Oh, yeah. There are some really cool foraging apps
Yeah.
that can help you identify plants, record your finds,
Right.
even connect with other foragers in the area.
It's amazing there's an app for everything these days.
It's true. It seems like we're really spoiled for choice
We are.
when it comes to foraging resources.
We are. There's no excuse for not being informed and prepared
That's great.
when you head out on your next foraging adventure.
Okay, so I'm armed with all these amazing resources. I'm feeling a lot more confident.
Yeah.
But what about when I'm actually out in the field?
Yeah, what then?
What are some key things
Right.
to keep in mind
Absolutely.
to ensure a safe
Yeah.
and successful foraging experience?
Well, first and foremost, never forget that golden rule
Okay.
of proper plant identification.
Yes.
Don't rely on just one source
Right.
or one distinguishing feature.
Mm-hmm.
Use multiple resources.
Yeah.
Cross-reference your findings.
Okay.
And remember, when in doubt, throw it out.
That's a good one to remember. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. Especially when you're talking about eating wild plants.
Absolutely.
Don't underestimate the power of your senses.
Okay.
Take the time to really look at the plant,
Mm-hmm.
feel the texture of the leaves,
Yeah.
the stems,
Okay.
even give it a sniff if it's appropriate.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
some plants you can identify by that unique aroma.
So we're looking, feeling, and smelling. What about tasting?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I would say only taste a plant
Okay.
if you are absolutely certain of its identity
Right.
and it's known to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, just take a tiny nibble and wait.
Yeah.
See if you have any adverse reactions.
You're right. Better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
So, any other safety tips that we should be thinking about?
Don't forget about allergies.
Oh, right.
Just because a plant is considered edible doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's safe for everyone.
It's like any other food allergy. You never know
Exactly.
until you try it.
So when you're trying a new wild edible for the first time,
Okay.
start with a small amount and pay attention to how your body responds.
Mm-hmm.
If you experience anything unusual, a rash, itching, swelling, difficulty breathing,
Yeah.
seek medical attention immediately.
Okay, so start small.
Yes.
Be aware of potential allergies.
Right.
What about the tools of the trade? What should every forager have?
Well, a good field guide is a must.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about practical tools that can make harvesting easier.
Like what? Give me the foraging essentials.
Okay, a sturdy basket or bag
Okay.
is crucial for collecting your finds,
Mm-hmm.
and a pair of gardening gloves can protect your hands.
Yeah, gloves are a good idea.
Especially from those toxic-to-touch plants.
Yeah, I'd rather not have an encounter with giant hogweed sap.
No, I don't blame you.
And if you're digging up roots or tubers, a small trowel or digging knife can be helpful.
Very useful.
But always use your tools responsibly.
Absolutely.
And try to minimize our impact on the environment.
Right, you want to be respectful, not destructive.
Exactly. So we've got our field guides, our baskets, our gloves, maybe even a trowel.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know before we head out into the wild?
Well, I think one thing that's important to address is the fear of making a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are hesitant to start foraging because they're afraid of picking the wrong plant.
I can definitely relate to that, all those dangerous lookalikes.
Right, it can be intimidating.
They've got me feeling a little bit apprehensive, to be honest.
But remember, knowledge is power.
That's true.
The more you learn, the more confident you become.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to learn is through experience and guidance.
So get out there and practice,
Yep.
but maybe not go it alone at first.
That's a good idea. Seek out those local foraging experts.
Yeah.
Join guided walks, attend workshops. Really immerse yourself
Okay.
in the world of wild edibles.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
No.
The foraging community is full of passionate individuals who are eager to share their knowledge and help others learn.
That's good to know.
It really is a supportive community.
Yeah.
And foraging isn't just about identifying and harvesting plants.
Mhm.
It's about connecting with nature,
Yeah.
with food,
Mhm.
and with a community of like-minded people.
It's about appreciating what nature provides
Exactly.
and learning how to harvest
Yeah,
in a way that's sustainable
Mhm.
and ethical.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
embrace the adventure,
Absolutely.
but always prioritize safety,
Of course.
respect the environment,
Yeah.
and never stop learning.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to move on to the most delicious part of our deep dive.
I agree. Let's talk about those edible delights.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to discover some surprising and delicious treasures from the wild.
That's good.
We'll be back in a flash to explore the culinary wonders of foraging.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
The dangers, the ethics.
all the incredible resources out there to
Yeah.
help you learn.
Hmm.
But now,
Now for the fun stuff.
let's get to the good part.
The delicious part.
The delicious edible plants
Yeah.
just waiting to be discovered out there.
You know, it's amazing how foraging can open up this whole new world of flavors.
Yeah.
And connect us back to our ancestors and how they used to live off the land.
It's like we're rediscovering this secret world of taste
Totally.
that's been around for centuries.
Uh-huh.
And we've touched on some of those surprising edibles.
Yeah.
But let's dive a little deeper.
All right, let's do it.
Cattail, for example.
Oh, yeah, cattail.
I was amazed to learn that you can eat the roots, the pollen, and the young shoots.
It's like a multi-purpose wild food.
It is. The roots can be roasted or boiled.
Yeah, they have a starchy, slightly sweet taste.
Okay.
Some people compare it to a potato or parsnip.
That actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
What about the pollen? Can you actually eat the pollen?
absolutely. It's a nutritional powerhouse. You can use it as a thickener for soups
Okay.
or even to make pancakes.
Pancakes.
Cattail pollen pancakes.
Wow, that's pretty cool, bringing a little bit of the wild into your kitchen.
I know, right?
What about those young shoots? How do you eat those?
You can eat them raw or cooked.
Okay.
They add a nice crunch
All right.
and kind of a mild asparagus-like flavor.
Interesting.
Good for salads or stir fries.
Okay, cattail is officially on my list of plants to try.
Good choice.
Sounds so versatile
It is.
and delicious.
Yeah.
So what other edible delights are out there?
Well, how about the wood lily?
The wood lily.
Beautiful wildflower.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect that to be edible.
I know, right? But both the flowers and the seeds are safe to eat.
So you can actually, like, garnish a dish with those beautiful petals.
Exactly. They have a delicate floral flavor
Okay.
and a touch of sweetness.
Right?
And the seeds, you can roast them for a nutty snack.
It's like bringing a little wilderness magic to your plate. Okay, I'm sold on wood lily. What else?
Okay, have you ever heard of cloudberry?
Cloudberry. I have heard of it.
It's this elusive golden orange berry
Okay.
that grows in northern regions. Have you ever tried one?
I haven't, but I've heard they have a pretty unique flavor.
They do. It's hard to describe.
Okay.
It's like a blend of sweet and tart, kind of like a raspberry,
Yeah,
but with this more intense, almost tropical note.
that sounds amazing. I need to get my hands on some cloudberries.
You do.
What's the best way to eat them?
Cloudberry jam is legendary.
Damn.
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be absolutely delicious.
Okay, I'm adding that to my list.
You should.
Yeah.
Cloudberry jam, all right?
But you can eat them fresh, too, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about ramps earlier.
Oh, yeah, the wild leeks.
A forager's favorite.
They are that pungent, garlicky flavor.
Yeah.
Adds a real kick to any dish. You can use them just like cultivated garlic.
I love that. Add in that wild garlic flavor to my cooking.
That's great. So what's the best way to use them?
Oh, you can saute them, roast them, pickle them.
Okay.
The possibilities are endless.
All right.
They're especially good in pasta dishes and soups.
Ramps are going on my list of plants to try.
Good choice.
What about wood sorrel?
Wood sorrel. Yeah.
I know it has those cute heart-shaped leaves.
It does.
Is it actually good to eat?
It is. It has this tangy, lemony flavor.
Okay.
Really refreshing.
Right.
You can use it to brighten up salads.
Yeah.
Add a zing to sauces.
Okay.
Or even make refreshing wood sorrel tea.
That sounds delicious.
It is.
Like nature's lemon juice.
It is.
We've talked about a lot of plants that sound amazing.
Yeah.
But what about acorns?
Acorns.
They don't exactly scream delicious to me.
I know, right? But they can actually be a really valuable food source.
Really?
They're full of nutrients,
Yeah.
and you can process them into flour for baking.
Acorn flour.
Acorn flour, yep.
Have you ever baked with it?
I have. It has this nutty, earthy flavor. It adds a really interesting dimension to breads, pancakes, even cookies.
Wow. I never would have thought to use acorns in baking.
I know, it's cool, right?
That's fascinating. And we can't forget about seaweed,
Oh, the superfood.
packed with nutrients. Right.
It is full of iodine, vitamin C,
Okay.
tons of other essential nutrients.
And there are so many different types of edible seaweed out there.
There are, each with its own flavor and texture.
So what are some of your favorite ways to eat seaweed?
Well, nori's the classic for sushi, of course.
Yeah.
But you can also add kelp to soups.
Okay.
Or even roast it for a crispy snack.
Interesting.
And then there's dulse,
Yeah.
which has this slightly salty, smoky flavor
Okay.
that's really addictive.
It's amazing how much the natural world offers.
I know, right?
It's so diverse and delicious.
It really is.
And it seems like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. Foraging is a journey of continuous learning.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely.
New flavors, new ways to connect with nature.
And I think this deep dive has given us a really fantastic starting point.
I agree.
We've learned about the dangers,
The importance of being ethical,
the incredible resources that are available,
and of course, all those amazing edible plants
waiting out there.
just waiting to be discovered.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the most important thing to remember is that foraging is a privilege.
It is.
It's a privilege to be able to harvest these wild foods
Absolutely.
and experience those unique flavors that nature provides.
It's a gift.
It is, but it's also a responsibility, right?
It is.
We have to forage safely, ethically, and sustainably
Absolutely.
to make sure that this amazing resource is available for generations to come.
Well said.
So I think it's something we all need to think about as we embark on our foraging journeys.
It's a journey of discovery,
It is.
learning, and connecting with nature.
In a really profound and delicious way.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's a pleasure.
And happy foraging.